Ooh, what's happening, man? I don't know what the fuck that was. Hey, man. You know, uh, it it's hard to talk about shit lately because it seems like there's so much manipulation that it's hard to really know what things are actually like. Which has always been the case. That's not a new thing. We never knew what was going on in a completely different continent. You know what I'm saying? Like, before technology, it might take a year before you find out some shit that happened in another continent. What I mean, though, is because of the innovations and shit that technology has brought, we're more easily manipulated. I won't even say more. We're just as easily manipulated as we've always been. But we have the illusion that we're not being manipulated. And I think that that's something that not only is not really being paid attention to, but when I try to tell somebody that, they get upset. They get mad and they're like, well, I'm not being manipulated. And I'm like, bro, I'm listening to you talk. You know, it's across the board. And that doesn't exclude me. I'm trying to be conscious of it, aware of it. So if I notice something, I say something, then I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, why the fuck do I think that? Or why did I say that? I'm not running from that feeling. I'm not running from that notion where it's like, oh shit, that's not even real. I accepted that instantly. I think that happens a lot. I made some videos about the gender war psyop, the sexualization of children's education and just life in general. There's stuff that what I said to someone earlier in a conversation was specifically what I see that has happened. This is a gradual progression. It's not just starting now. These are things that have been going on. It just doesn't seem like it because either it happened before you were born or before you were paying attention or whatever. But back in the day, I Love Lucy. Lucy was a comedian and she was like a trailblazer. And Lucille Ball was seen as kind of a trailblazer for women. That wasn't common for how women were back then. You know what I'm saying? Little stuff like that can be used to manipulate the masses because, we're all just trying to essentially play a role. That's what the ego is. The ego is a role. It's something that's attached to you and we're all very used to it now, but your divinity, it does have an ego. I'll preface that. I don't believe it when they say your role doesn't have an ego, because if we're made in the image of the divine, they have egos, nigga. I honestly still think that those are just other, maybe more advanced, less GMO'd beings, but they're still beings like us. They live longer, they have some powers because their DNA hasn't been fucked with like our DNA has been fucked with. They're not being poisoned the way we're being poisoned. Man, look, Jupiter Ascending is a fire-ass movie. Go watch Jupiter Ascending, because even though it's got some kind of goofy shit in it, and Magic Mike's in there looking all Magic Mikey doing this shit, the ice skating and shit on air and stuff, but the overall movie is telling you the truth, I believe. They may be using some semantics, talking about aliens and shit. Those words don't matter. Alien, angel, demon, none of that shit matters. What matters is the narrative. I think those narratives are fairly true. And I think that, I'm trying to look at shit from a general sense, because we're not going to get definitive answers on this shit until the finale pops. And I mean, it's rumbling. This is the rumbling, for my anime fans. This is the very start of the rumbling. Not to say the giants are going to come stomp us to death, but like even that is just, that's an allegory. That's an analogy for what will happen. The rumbling, the giants, the titans coming in a phalanx, a joined phalanx, and just steamerizing the surface, like just ironing out the surface. That's all allegory. In fact, it's in another animation called Fooly Cooly. Fooly Cooly. First season of Fooly Cooly is very, very Gnostic, very, alchemical even, where it's essentially referencing the apocalypse. I won't say the plasma apocalypse, but I'm sure Jay Dreamers could, or some Jay Dreamers or Tommy Truthful, someone of them could probably break down some of the like more esoteric stuff. I like general shit. I don't need to go too deep into things to get it. You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to cover so much in such little time that sometimes I'll go deeper into stuff to try to get a better understanding. But if I feel like I've got a pretty good understanding of it and I don't have a feeling that there's more under that surface, then I just move on. But just generally speaking, it feels very like ominous right now. Everyone feels it. That's why you see all these like charlatans that are like, I know what's about to happen. Pay me money so I can tell you what's about to happen. Or, I know what's about to happen. Your only hope is to listen to me and do as I do. It's very ridiculous. So ridiculous, just because there's a lot of ignoring of facts. Like there are many that are like talking about the Anunnaki specifically, when that's to do that kind of ignores the influence of Janus and Zeus in culture. In many ways, this is Rome. Like, this is the Roman Empire. It didn't go anywhere. The Roman Empire never really went anywhere. We're all kind of indirect subjects of it. And you have to follow a couple steps. You go to, obviously there's the U.S. corporation if you live in the United States. Then the next step would be the UK, the United Kingdom, the throne. And then the next step from that would be the Vatican, who the throne answers to. And who is the Vatican? That is the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church. What's in the Vatican? What's under the Vatican? Money. A grip of money. So much money. All of the money is in the Vatican. All the art, all the money, all the antiquities, all the technologies that you aren't allowed to know about, all of, just everything. Not to say they literally have everything, but they even fake stuff, put that in the Vatican, the real version, and then you get to see the fake shit. Like, there's a lot of what seems like like, there's a lot of what seems like people having tantrums, beings having tantrums, groups, or like those that feel like they're special in some kind of way to where others need to like heed their words and like follow them like gods. Everyone should be able to speak, but when you start saying like you need to worship me because I know, that's very overt cult behavior, and it's ancient. That's ancient cult behavior. When beings say that this is all cyclical, I don't like it. But at the same time, I definitely see what they're saying. It doesn't have to be cyclical, and I don't believe it's exactly the same every time. I just believe that as the microcosm, as the picton, as the majority that is not as strong or as resourced as the minority, we never listen to beings that get up on a soapbox They're always ostracized. They're never heard out. And by the time beings start to pay attention and they're like, oh shit, this nigga's right, then they just have this over response where everyone just starts like doing drugs and drinking and fucking. And hey, I like to have a good time, but those things aren't gonna help you. That's giving up. You're just giving up, you know. And that's sad to me because it doesn't really seem like it would take much to at least throw them off their game to just like not participate. If everyone just said, you know what? Fuck Janus. Fuck Zeus. You know? Not even commenting on whether you're good or evil, those fucking made up concepts. Just, I don't like what you're doing. Fuck you for right now. When you come to the table with some new shit and you stop doing the shit you're doing now, then we'll circle back. All them other goofy ass man bun things that they got these niggas out here saying, like, then we'll circle back and see what we feel about your whole empire and if we want to participate in it. You know, it's that's why they have to send those they have to program these bots and shit to say stupid comments in all these YouTubers' comments. I found out yesterday I put up in my community section another interaction that was just hilarious to me. Very similar. They'd said some goofy, like, attempting to be mean shit, and I'm like, you know that you coming here specifically to say this is way weirder than anything I'm saying on my own channel, right? And it was like, it's not theory, you're just delusional. And I'm like, I could be wrong, but I'm not delusional. That's what the fucking word theory means. I don't believe most of what I'm saying. I'm postulating. I'm creating potentials, you know? If anything, you're telling me you don't know what science is, which is believable and sad. But the bigger thing there for me was that, like, I could tell it was fake in either sense. Either it was a troll, which is goofy, and they get, I don't want to say they get paid all the time. Trolls do get paid, though. Some of them have admitted, yeah, I get kickbacks. I get paid to do this to people on different levels. But then also, they may get preferential treatment on social media apps or, free stuff, which is another form of getting paid. But then there's also bots, whether it's either version is doing the same thing. It's creating negative experiences on these things that we think are sincere. We think they're genuine apps. And I say we like the royal we, because I don't think that and haven't thought that in a very long... As soon as I figured out there were bots, I was like, oh, then this is fake then, But many of us haven't really discovered that, even though we know that there are bots. We forget, and we're like, look what this fuckboy said to me. And it's like, okay, but you should always kind of have the air of, this may not be real. This may be just to, like, make me upset. And yesterday, like, 5 other YouTubers, in the same fashion, posted a screenshot like, what the fuck is y'all's problems right now? Which would indicate more than just that one example. And I said to a couple of them, like, hey, I also noticed this. I'm trying to get us all to talk so that we can see, like, oh, there was just like a slew of this in the past 48 hours, which is weird. We should notice that. You know what I'm saying? But no one responded, which is fine. I mean, honestly, social media is not reliable in any sense of the word, because it's too controlled. Like, we have grown to trust it. It's the same thing as what I said with video. Like, you build up a trust, and then once that trust is built, you can manipulate that medium or that thing, and the beings that are using it won't really notice because that trust has already been built. So like what I said with the video, you start off with like newspapers and radio, then you introduce movie theaters. They go see it, they're fucking amazed, and then you're like, give it 10, 20 years, maybe. And then you're like, hey, look, a video camera. You can film your own shit now. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And they film some shit and then they see it. So now the connection has been made. I can film my own stuff. This is trustworthy. When I see film, it is trustworthy. Then you start to, bring in video effects and practical effects and things like that. You tell them up front, like, hey, this is not real, but the trust is still there, that subconscious trust. All the way up until now, where you can't trust video at all. On so many levels. There's visual effects, there's computer graphics, there's completely fabricated all of this. This entire screen of shit you're looking at right now could be fake, could not be fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could go either way. So it's the same principle as that. When we speak to people on social media, it's not to say you should look at every being that you interact with as like fake, but you should also think as soon as something negative, just out of nowhere, negative is said to you, oh, either this person is like dealing with personal shit and they're projecting that on me, or they're not fucking real at all. And the fact that yesterday, 6 different YouTubers, not including me, so that makes 7 that I know of, all posted shit like, why the fuck are people talking to me like this in comments? Why did that happen in the same day? You could argue that it's algorithm, or you could say, oh, well, they ramped up some bot shit. Right? So it's, to me, is just kind of, all these things are just indicators of everyone being so detached and so disassociated that they can kind of do whatever right now, and everyone's just going to be like, I'm tired, bro, just stop, please leave me alone, but they won't do anything in response. I had a fairly good conversation, like a private conversation with one of y'all about that earlier, and we were just kind of talking about how, it really took me back how much they weren't seeing, but they were open to the things that I said. So once I gave my perspective, like, oh, this isn't new. None of this is new. This has been the plan for a very long time. Go find a video of those. There's 2 young ladies reading the Rockefeller Manifesto. None of this is not planned. Every bit of what's happening right now has been planned for decades. Over 100 years. Well over 100 years, actually. Man, time is going. Fuck time. But yeah, it's been planned for and that's why, if you start to get into my more metaphysical, conspiracy theory shit, I do believe that someone came here, with technology and just terraformed this bitch, both physically, what we see and interact with, and mentally. That's why we all feel oh, are we in some kind of matrix or blah? Yes, you are. In both senses of the word, and the instant belief that people have in things is, to me, another indicator of that. You don't know what the sky is. You've just been told what the sky is over and over and over again, to the point now where if someone brings you a new interpretation or theory of what that is above you, you attack them, but you have no idea if you're correct or not. You have no idea what the sky is. Majority of people at the most have gone skydiving, which is not very far into the sky at all. And that's just with most things. Everyone just feels like they know shit, but none of us really know anything. That's a main point for me, is I try to use things that I can find to show that we actually don't know shit. Maybe it's just important in my eyes to know that we don't know shit, but to me, that the very next step past that is, okay, well then why was all this pushed on me? Why was I told that the sky is blue because of blah, 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 and that they went to the moon and all these things that aren't true? Why was I told all that? These are breadcrumbs to some shit that, to me, the Tartaria researchers are on the cusp of. I don't really necessarily consider myself to be a part of the Tartaria researchers, but they're fucking on the cusp of something. All those orphan trains and all that shit. It's very, very strange. Pushing permissions, programming bots with new parameters. Yeah, I mean, I started to notice the bot stuff on Twitter, and I'm sure it was likely before that. I'm sure that bots have been a thing since MySpace, AOL, Instant Messenger. You know what I mean? Like we we've been so trusting that there's probably whole sections of culture where it was built upon facade and we just didn't know it. It's like now, if you happen, I'm trying to be as like open about things as possible. Someone says some kind of weird stuff about porn to me earlier, and I don't think that porn is exactly like healthy to be obsessive about, but like if you're trying to stay strong within yourself and every once in a while you need to get one off, go fucking watch some porn, dude. Anyway, if you have been to any like porn platforms, there's all these like advertisements like meet locals in your area now. Those are all fake. All that shit is fake. That's either to give you a virus or to get you on some phone sex line or some like pay to play chat shit. And many people know that, many beings know that, but like it's an example of what I mean. Like if someone has never seen any of that shit before and they're very lonely and they just want company and they want to feel loved or they want to feel a touch or something like that, they might see that shit and think the chick or the dude is hot and be like, wow, I can talk to them. And it's sad that we'll make fun of that person instead of being like, hey, look, that's actually not real. It's just very, very like disingenuous advertising. We're all so fucked. We're all so jaded, dude. It's creepy. All I do is look around and I feel weird. I feel weird all the time. And I even myself, I have some things within myself where I'm like, I don't really like that, but I don't know a different way to be. I'm again trying to be as forthcoming as possible. Like the masturbation shit. There's all kinds of stuff that's like, you need to be keeping your seed. You need to be, but dude, nocturnal emissions. Why isn't anyone thinking? Critical thinking. Some people I'm sure are very capable of not busting ever. I don't think so, but I'm not going to act like I know everything about everybody. I think people lie a lot. Let me put it like that. I think that those who are making fiat currency off of telling you not to bust nuts ever, they're busting nuts. And not just at nocturnal emissions, most of them are fucking hoes, bruh. They're taking the money that you're giving them and they're going and fucking. Right? Can we admit that to each other? And there's so much like, I don't know. It's like belief, but also disbelief. Like everyone's trusting into certain shit that they should not have any trust in. But then they're like, you're crazy to those that are like, hey, this is all fucked up. Or like, you're lazy, or you just don't want to have the same life everybody else. This is genius. I'm gonna keep, every time I kind of talk about this, I guess it's like a defrag. Every time I kind of talk about this, the one thing I can say is this is fucking genius. Some idiots did some genius shit, because as far as like Zeus is the same as Jupiter, is the same as, a whole bunch of other names. I've said this so many times. Not a smart dude. Sackless, not a smart dude. The blind god. He's called the blind god for a reason. Not a fucking smart dude. He's jealous of us. That's why this happens. That's why this place is like this. But somehow he did this. This is fucking smart. The way that this shit works. But I think it's just repetitive. That's why we call this a stage. That's why it keeps happening in cycles. And it's very similar each time. Just something happens, and then they may or may not decide to reinvent themselves as new deities. Then they do it again. Some of them have changed their appearance and their whole mythos over to like aliens for a while. And, I think that as a society, things have been getting more intelligent. So they're like, oh shit, the alien thing's not working anymore. What can we do now? Ultra terrestrials. Let's tell them about dimensions so they can know we've been spying on them this entire fucking time. We're just there, and they just can't see us. This is the stuff I'm doing with my research. I'm really just trying to find this out for me and like come up with a theory that makes the most sense to me. But I would like to offer it to others so that, you can help me with new options. Like, hey, look, this actually makes more sense than that. And, maybe build a better understanding of what the fuck's going. Because currently, I mean, this just looks like everybody is dealing with sociopathy and psychosis and narcissism and just trauma. Like, I hate it when people talk about trauma now, because all of those influencers, they're like, you need to heal your trauma. Some of them don't know shit. They just say that because they saw someone else say it, and then they don't have anything else to say after that. Heal your trauma, and you need to get rid of your ancestral curses. Those two things, and then they don't know anything else. And shadow work. They may say the words shadow work, but then when you ask them what that means and how you accomplish that, they kind of just color outside the lines. But to me, when I look around, I just see a bunch of what beings have been told to call mental illness. And really, it's just a response to stimuli. We're all so heavily manipulated and fucked with and tired. And we are being traumatized actively, day to day, physically and mentally. And not very many are willing to, like, kind of, what the fuck is this? In fact, it seems like most that I come into contact with in some way have, some level of, what the fuck is that shit called? I always forget this now. I used to know it instantly. Basically, when you're kidnapped and you start to, because your brain can't handle what you're going through, or out of self-preservation, you gain, feelings for your captor. It's very common. I think most are dealing with that currently. It's sad. A lot of this stuff makes me feel bad for everyone. Which, what do you do about that necessarily? Other than this, I mean, I'm just kind of saying the stuff that I see because I wonder to myself, maybe I can say a thing that will reach a person who has more reach, and they'll like say a thing that I said. Not needing them to say my name, just say the thing I said, which I do kind of see that happening creepily. But then like, imposter syndrome or whatever, I'm like, they're not saying that because of me though, but it's happened a lot lately. So who the fuck knows? I don't really care as long as maybe some real change starts to happen, which that is change, the fact that I'm seeing them say it, just not seeing it being implemented. A big one, I don't think he saw it from me. I just, I also say it was Billy Carson when he was like, we all need to stop participating. 1000% agree with that. Why don't you start us off, Billy? Why don't you fucking start us off by not participating? What the fuck, dude? The biggest contradictions in statements that I've seen, We need to stop participating. I just fucking made a house out of crystal. It cost me a fortune. I have whole desks and tables in my house made of crystal. Like, you know, shit like that. That's, I don't necessarily believe in mental illness, but if there was some mental illness, doing shit like that, not even doing shit like that, those that see that done and then still believe in that being, that's some form of delusion that I can't even put my hands on. Can't even put my hands on that. Like, what is that? How can you pull the wool over your own eyes to that? That's some thick wool. Very, very thick wool. And I think I'm kind of like paying attention to this a bit more and noticing this a bit more because some looming shit, you know, like that security update for Google is coming up. I don't know if they usually do that. I don't know if they usually tell us ahead of time, like, hey, we're about to do this security update. I think usually they just do it. But with this one, it's like, look, we're about to turn into the Gestapo. We're about to be Fahrenheit 451. We're about to be burning books out this bitch. If you talk about something we don't like, you are fucked, you know? Your channel gone. I mean, honestly, I think it's going to get more intense than that. I think it's about to be somewhat, at least digitally, like V for Vendetta, you know, where if you speak about certain shit, your capability to do so will be greatly compromised. That's going to be, I'm sure, across the board because that's Google, so that applies to anyone that uses Google servers, which is basically everyone. Even if you think it's not Google, it's still Google. Like some like to use DuckDuckGo, but DuckDuckGo probably uses Google servers. Like this is gonna affect everything, and it might sound like bleak or like I'm reaching or some shit. I'm not reaching. I promise. And that's just one thing that's starting, you know, that doesn't mean that's the only thing that's going to happen. That's like that. Just the only one that I'm aware of. Then there's the dollar. The US dollar was already, you know, they've already been saying, hey, we're done fucking with the US. BRICS. You may have heard of BRICS. It's the dollar is about to collapse. The fact that J.P. Morgan Chase filed that many claims of bankruptcy to the point that it's like fraudulent bankruptcy, that's not good. That's a very big bank. That's a very big bank. And it's not to say that I believe in or am, you know, loyal to that fiat currency shit, but that's what this entire system is kind of built upon. So once one of the biggest banks that's feeding into it and keeping it perpetuated falters and crumbles, everyone else is going to start panicking and doing weird shit. And then another bank is going to have that happen. And then another bank is going to have that happen. And it's all intended. Not to say that this is accidental or natural or anything, but it's all intended. And that's going to lead to the dollar meaning nothing, which is why they already created this digital currency, you know, a federal digital currency that everyone's like, I'm not fucking using that. But they didn't care if you wanted to use it then. They were just making it so that it would already be established. Now they're going to crash your original option all the way out. They're going to crash that all the way out to where it means nothing. And your choices will either be to barter or to use their new federal coin. And many will just use the coin because they're pussed out. But then those that don't want to use the coin and can, you know, try to barter or, you know, figure out ways, that'll work for a little bit. And then they'll start getting more and more like, you know, hands-on with those that don't follow suit. That's what I see. You know, and so I know there's going to be some beings that are like, hey, you're just speaking this into existence, bruh. If y'all don't cut that shit out with me, like, I'll keep going back to the same example. Are slaves making their own reality? Are slaves telling themselves subconsciously, I just really want to be a slave, you know? No, they're not doing that. And same thing with like victims of sexual stuff. Are they subconsciously bringing that to themselves? No, dude. I agree that we have great power. We have the capability to do great things. But I also think we're not doing that right now. I can't make this happen by myself. This stuff I'm talking about, I can't make that happen by myself. Because if that were true, we would all be kicking it right now. We'd have private islands where it's just people that we fuck with and that fuck with us, really, like the long way, loyalty and all that shit, and be doing whatever we want. I've been wishing that since I was a kid. Never fucking happened. Even before I started thinking about projecting and your power and chi and all that stuff, and arguably you are more in tune with that the younger you are. So, agree to disagree, man, you know? That's just been something that's been said to me a lot lately. Like, you're kind of speaking it into it. No, I'm not, dude. They just have you thinking that you have more power than we currently do because we're not together. We're not a unified front. If we were a unified front, then the power you speak of would be that powerful. But we're so isolated from each other, both socially engineered and natural, that that power is not being utilized, you know, not in the way that we think. Very minuscule ways. So yeah, I'm not speaking these things into power. I'm just not delusional. I don't want to ignore the things that are happening. When I started talking about the pandy that was coming before everyone got the news, you know, that for 2 weeks we're gonna have to just truck it out. I was saying that shit was gonna happen, and then it happened. You know, I didn't want it to, and I didn't speak it in. They'd been talking about it for like 4 years before that, way before I knew anything about it. That dude announced that he was gonna do that shit at some kind of like weird, you know, forum type convention thing in like 2014, 2016. Just everyone's so manipulated right now that now there's this belief that we're doing this to ourselves. They they have y'all believing that subconsciously or some shit we're doing all of this stuff to ourselves, or you signed up for this before you incarnate. Like, all that shit is not true, bruh. That's not real. That's not true. You didn't pick this before. Like, who's gonna pick to be like, I don't know, I'm not gonna say those things. There's really gnarly shit happening to certain very real beings, not NPCs, not those that are just supposed to like show us stuff. There's bad shit happening to real people that are not bringing that on themselves. That's just my view on it. And if that, you know, that might make some mad or like uncomfortable or something. And you know, like, hey, you have your belief just like I have mine. You know? You have what you view just like I have what I view. And I think that there's a weird thing where it's like, I can say what I believe and I can do my best to like support it with like, you know, examples and facts and things that I see as facts and so on, just like the other being can. And my thing is that with that one specifically, every time we get into this like back and forth about that, they're just saying something that they heard someone else say. They don't really have, when I say why do you believe, what makes you believe that? They don't have an answer. Just intuition, which, okay, you know, intuition's a very real thing, very real, very powerful. But I'm not going off of intuition. There is no slave that is like, I want to be a slave subconsciously. There's no victim that's like, I want to be victimized over and over it. That's not a thing. Those aren't things. So I get intuition, and I'm also using intuition, but I'm also using like experience, like fact, you know? And to me, that kind of trumps in certain situations. Using a card reference. Trump, spades, not, or pinochle even. Not politics. Please do not. I'm not talking about politics. I don't know. It's uncomfortable. I guess that's why I talk about it's very uncomfortable to like sit and just kind of very slowly watch all this stuff kind of start. It hasn't even gotten 10% of the way played out. And I'm just like looking around like, okay. All right, I'm done with this though. Let's just get it going, you know? Let's get this thing cracking. Let's get it moving. Just moving in such slow motion. And I think a lot of it's like I'm just feeling manipulated feels gross in the micro and the macro. Just generally speaking, being manipulated feels disgusting. And I am disgusted by those that are comfortable with doing it. Unequivocally, you know? I don't, I'm not saying that I see a specific, like, fix. The only fix that I see, I don't really see happening, which is everyone, for the most part, just a very large majority saying to themselves, you know what, fuck this. Fuck Zeus, fuck the Vatican, fuck, you know what I mean? I just don't see that happening. I don't see enough beings even paying enough attention to say fuck those things. And even the ones that aren't paying attention, I don't see them being like, you know what, fuck this job, fuck this, you know. It's just, there's too much fear, there's too much comfort. This is genius. This is a genius way to do this. And it's my own not attachment, it's my own involvement in all of this that makes it hard to like really study this duat portion of the theory, because I'm also going through it. And so there are some times where I come to a thing and I'm like, I don't want that to be true though. You know what I mean? Just parts of the duat theory, like, you know what? I don't like that. I don't want that to be true. And I have to reason with myself and be like, hey, so listen, champ, you cannot want that as much as you like. Not gonna change, not gonna try to change you there. But as a researcher, you have to be objective with what you find. And whether you want it to be true or not does not change whether it is the case. You know this. We both know this, right? That's me if I had a conversation with me. And it's, you know, fuck, dude. It is difficult finding out all this information, finding these examples of things from the past. I'm starting to get little, like, weird flashes of... They're not memories. I don't know what to call it. It's like a feeling, flashes of like feelings, and sometimes there's like pictures attached to it. I don't know. What I do know though is that everything seems to be kind of like unhinging at a similar time, even if it's just simulated. There's a lot of times I say a thing, and even if that thing is not true, why is it being put out as a lie then? You know, like if all these environmental things are not actually happening, then why would they want you to believe they're happening? Or if the dollar is not about to collapse, then why are they on the fucking news saying, oh, we're about to go through it. This is going to be as bad, if not way worse than 2007, 2008. Like, even if I'm wrong, there's so many trying to tell me that I'm wrong that I don't think you get it. Like, okay, I'm wrong. Well, then why do they want me to think it? Why do they want you to think it? Say we're in the same boat. Doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right. What are they doing? Look at what they're doing and then say, what's that? You know? Doesn't matter if I'm wrong or right. That's why I don't really get that hype or upset when someone's like, you're fucking crazy or you're delusional. All right, well, even if I was, that seems like a pretty suitable response to the many manipulations that are happening in a compounded fashion. Like, is that delusional if someone's literally saying shit to you and doing shit to you? I think that's just like responding, you know? Not to say that you're right or wrong, but just responding. Man, I am still going to do the dream talk. I just need to write down which ones I'm going to talk about. But maybe, I think I might talk about this, whatever this is. It's very strange. It's a strange sensation. It makes me feel very weird. I think I'm having like a negative reaction to it because I don't know what it is or where, you know what I mean? It feels like, I don't know what it feels like. That's a part of why I don't like it. And it's like, it feels like another step in, like, past the deja reveille. I'm not asleep right now, you know, in the traditional sense of what sleep is, because I'm kind of studying that right now too. It's not deja reveille in the traditional sense, and it's very intrusive and increasing in frequency. So, like, during this, as I'm talking, maybe I'm saying things that's making it happen, kinda. But I'll feel a thing, and it comes with like a picture. And I don't know how to say it in words, because it also has this like feeling attached to it, where it's like not a longing, but like, I guess it is like a potential, like, oh, is that something that's gonna happen in the future, or am I gonna see that I guess that's what that is, because I don't recognize it. And I don't recognize the thing that I see when it happens, generally. And it's very quick, so I can't even remember the ones that I just saw. But usually it's like a place. It's like a place or a house or something. I don't know. I just bit my tongue. Yeah, I really feel like people, if those are beings calling each other delusional and crazy and all this other shit, I feel like you should kind of fall back off that, you know? That's a dangerous thing. Someone can call you those things tomorrow just for believing in Jesus or believing in God. Everyone gets so comfortable with most believing or agreeing with what they believe in that they don't remember. Go back in history and look at how, you know, some points in history there were times where, you know, Christians were getting fucked up by pagans, or you know, the many different versions of these things, like Mithraism giving fall to you know, Gnosticism, and just all these things that kind of like from many different perspectives fall to the next. So if you are a real being just kind of strolling through comments looking for people to call names or assert their craziness or whatever, you know, you never know what your words can do. You may be contributing to someone like being put into a mental hospital or something, and you don't know them at all. You're just calling them a name, and then a lazy prosecutor sees that and says, you know what? Yeah, if this person thinks they're crazy, I think they're crazy too. All of that is crazy, but it can happen still, you know? It's very similar to that Young Thug shit, that Young Thug trial. They're using that dude's lyrics in a trial, in a proceeding of the justice system. They're using his rap lyrics, which I'm not saying that it's not strange to talk about like doing things to people in a song. That's stupid. You're stupid for that. But at the same time, though, are we going to ignore the fact that the CIA just kind of admitted that they created hip-hop, and that many of those that are very successful in the hip-hop industry are CIA assets? Jesus. It's a conflict of interest. So very similar thing here. Like you shouldn't be able to bring up someone's I don't like content, but there's not another work. You should be able to bring up someone's audio visual work from like YouTube and shit and be like, oh, look at this, unless it's very objective. And there's not many things that are objective. If it's a belief and not an act, then you shouldn't be able to use it. If they're doing something in the video that's wrong or bad, by all means, obviously. But then you even have to check to make sure the video's real. I'm just saying that we're moving real fast right now and not really like catching things up. Like the justice system hasn't caught up with technology. The justice system hasn't caught up with music, apparently, and art. Cops haven't caught up with many different innovations. Like, it's almost intentional. Like, the things that haven't been caught up are not caught up on purpose. So it's easier to like fuck with you and like do things to you. You know, I don't know. I don't know. It's very noticeable to me though. Very noticeable and there's lots of stuff like that where I'm like, no one else sees this. And I have this like little hope inside me where it's like, yeah, we're not all gonna let this fucking go, right? And then it does. That's one of the many reasons I'm like, this is fake. This isn't a real place, you know? Because if to believe that many beings are just like fucking gone mentally or you know, hypnotized or indoctrinated, whatever descriptor you want to put on it, it just makes this place seem fake. Because some of this shit is so illogical that I'm like, come on, there's no way that no one sees this. And then you even see some that say it, like a lot of beings that say it, and then it's like, okay, so if all these beings see it, but it's not the main thing, the main opinion that's being pushed, then that means that that it's being suppressed. And if it's being suppressed, then that means other things are being suppressed. And if other things are being suppressed, I make the jump and assumption that most things are being manipulated. So, fuck, right? I mean, fuck me, right? I don't know, dude. I think I'm done. I needed to get some of this out and off real quick. A little defrag, you know? A little defrag before I talk about fucking more dreams. And, I don't know, phenomena? Because the one I just talked about a second ago, I'm going to talk more about that, because that one's kind of freaking me out a little bit. And, you know, I don't not believe in anything at all. There are beings that I trust who have been saying, like, stuff's going to start coming back to you. Some of these, like, abilities are going to start coming back to you, and it's going to be very creepy, and, like, it's going to scare you a little bit, and it may be very sudden, so that's going to freak you out. And I just told myself, like, no, I'm cool, I'm ready. Give me my shit back. Give me my powers back. But I do that a lot because I don't want to be scared. I don't want to be fearful. But this feels weird. Every time it happens, I'm like, ugh, fuck, what the fuck is that? You know? And I'm one that, I want my shit to be real. So I'm not telling people that I'm in the astrals. I'm not telling people that I'm putting spells on people or anything. Anything that I say is happening is real. For me, that's happening to me. So far, I have shocked a bunch of things. Yesterday, I shocked a bunch of shit in my house. The solar, eruptions that happened and the CMEs that happened, obviously those things fuck with the electromagnetic field of the realm. So, like, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, I was like, damn, I've shocked more shit in this one day than I've ever done in my life at once. More times in such a small amount of moments. So there's that. There's the dream stuff and the precognition. That's always been there. Always been there. Sometimes I've seen some things that I couldn't really like explain, but that one I don't really lynch on. I don't hang on that one because, you know, the government has cloaking technology. They have like weird light technology that you can wear, like the shit that happened in Peru that makes it look like you're godly, which I think the gods have used before. So I don't really trust that one. But I've seen some shit. That's going to be one of the dream stories. Because it wasn't a dream, but it felt like one, and I had just woken up. And then there's this thing that's starting to happen now. You know? So not too much. I'm not like using pyrokinesis. I'm not lifting shit with my mind yet. I'm not none of those things, but I'm trying to give a very, very like real account of the things as they come back, you know? And I'm trying to do it in real time. I'm not trying to be like, oh shit, I can fly now, you know, before I can actually do that. If I can do it, then I'll say I can do it. I would like to challenge others to do the same. Stop saying you can do shit you can't do, you know? You don't need to do that. It's not necessary. We don't all have to, we're all special just normally. You don't have to create reasons to be special or create reasons for others to listen to you or any of that, you know? And it's not to say that those things that they're saying they can do aren't real. I'm sure some of them can actually, but you know what? If you can, how about you show it? If you can do that thing, then why don't you like show that so it can encourage the rest of us, and then we can like work real hard at it. Show it to the best of your ability. I mean, there's a lot of beings putting up, telekinesis videos up. Some of them are very fake, but some of them don't seem fake. There's a dude I just followed who he's on another level of some shit. Those that are just doing this and like knocking shit over, I kind of, you know, some of those look like they might have something to them. Most of the time not. And then there's some others that do like bending, you know, element bending. And I'm not saying that anyone should stop training or trying, but don't say to people that you can do shit until you actually can redundantly. You know, in my opinion, that's where I'm at with it. I'm just telling you, I don't believe you until you can do it over and over again. Until then, you're just like training and trying to like fake it to people, which makes me not really trust you. You know, and I think others are like that too. If we see you fake shit like that, we don't trust you anymore. We're not going to necessarily say it directly to you, but if you're calling yourself this specific God name and you're putting up these videos where you're trying to say, you see, I made it rain, and then it's like one, you know, I don't know, that just, it makes many of us look at you in a specific way and wonder what's up with you, you know? And it also makes many of us look weird or look bad, because then others look at it and they're like, so you're one of those. No. There's just certain stuff that I have done. I don't know how to control it. I don't know how to do it again, but it's increasing. Like, I'll be very honest about the things. You know? I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm up out of here, bro. I love you, dog.